This video covers the third part of a project to replace the hydraulic lifters in my BMW 1 Series E87 N45 B16 engine. The model was actually manufactured in February 2006. So in the previous two videos I covered the removal of the cams, and then in the second of the videos I covered replacing the lifters and reinstalling the cams. In this video I'm just going to cover the completion of the project to reinstall the cam cover and just get to the point where the engine is running.
Well, that's certainly been the messiest job. Whoever fitted the gasket around the cam cover last, they'd used the black silicone stuff and there was a lot of it all over the place. You can see I've cleaned it all out. I'm not going to be smug because if it leaks then I could well do the same thing, but I'm hoping that I don't need anything like that and the gaskets will just seal it up properly. Okay, come to the point where we've got to refit the cover. So let's just check everything. We've put the spray bar on, we've tightened down the union, we've done the bolts at the front of the cam, we've checked all the timing, we've put the tensioner in. We've got to put the top hose back on, but you know, the hose from the, not top hose from the top of the water pump into the side of the block, which we'll do once we've got the cover on. I think that's it. So what I have done is I have put some engine oil around the gasket line to allow it to sort of bed down and move a bit. I must say, if you look at this, I'm not mad about that. Why is there so much slack there? Surely that should be tight in there. Anyway, we'll give it a go. Yeah, it seems okay. Let's have a look around the other side. Yep. Yep, all looks good. Now a load of these bolts fell out, so hopefully they'll fit back in okay. So what's quite obvious is as you screw it down, eventually that tube thing that's around the bolt hits on the surface of the head, and then what you're doing is you're locking down against that tube thing with these rubber grommet things giving you a bit of sort of, don't know, allows for movement, I guess. Get this back down to 10. Okie dokie. All right, let's get that spark plug back in before we do anything else. Spark plug M14, which is what I think we have, 30. Okay. Good. Now put the core packs back in. Now the electrics. Now, as you can see, this is broken. So actually the next thing I need to do is repair that. I think I'll do that before I do anything else. Yeah, there's nothing else I can really do. One thing I have noticed is I have dropped some oil onto the exhaust, so I'm going to clean that off with some degreaser. Okay, I've been at this about, what is it in total, about 7 hours today. So I think what I'm going to do one last thing, which is refit the water hose, and I'll repair this earth tomorrow, and then refit that. I'm desperate. Today's Saturday, tomorrow's Sunday. I've got a family event in the morning tomorrow, but I need to get this finished by Sunday evening because next week I'm really busy, and the week after I want to take this to Snetterton for a track day. So I need it fixed and I need it running. So pressure's on a bit. So let's put the water hose on anyway. Here's the hose. It's a new one actually, because the previous one, the seal round here had gone, and I had a water leak, very slow dripping out from past the seal, which is in the side of the head. So this is a brand new one. Yeah, I think you can see down there where I've got to put this. Right. Okay, for this bolt that holds in this hose, I'm not going to bother using a torque wrench. I'm just going to do it up a reasonable amount. Yeah, like that. I mean, if it starts to leak, then I haven't done it up enough, but that's pretty tight. Okay, that's it. So what's left to be done is repair this, fit the earths back onto the studs that come through the centre of the cam cover, plug all the leads back into the coil packs, put this back across. Let me show you. This has got to go back across. In fact, I could do that now. So that goes into there. In your case, you'll probably also have to reconnect the battery lead that goes across there. And I think that's it. And we just push the top cover on, and we're ready to go. Let's hope it's all good. What I will do is I will crank it first with, I'll remove one of the fuses and crank it to get oil around it, and then I'll fire it up. I think it should be good. The cam timing seems fine, and I've followed the instructions, and you know, aside from a few little setbacks, nothing major has really happened to make me think that I've done it wrong, so we should be good.
Rather than include the repair of the coil pack earth tab here, I've split that off into a separate video because most people won't need to do that step, obviously.
Okay, it's done. It doesn't look tremendously pretty, but the main thing is that the solder has flown all over it, and I'm happy that that's a good joint. Obviously, the last thing I want is for two coil packs to stop working during a race, so I've got to get this right. I think in the future what I may do is see if I can buy from BMW a new connector and actually replace this existing one. You know, a new sort of connection tab. But this does look as though this is relatively strong and well soldered. I've inspected it with a magnifying glass and it looks okay. Okay, as you can see, it just about fits with the, it just about fits down there. So one of the things you want to do is make sure that, let's see if I can get it back off, the distance from the center of the eye, let's get that to focus. Yeah, the distance from the center of the eye to the base part of the sort of tab thing, make sure you don't make that too long, because I've not quite moved this whole thing back far enough, and it's tight. It does fit, but it is tight. So if the eye was any further away, there's no way I would get it down the actual slot and actually to fit onto the stud at the bottom there. Okay, now you can see all the coil packs are back in place and wired in, so it's ready to start. But before I start it, what I'm going to do is remove the fuel pump fuse, which I think is fuse number 40 on my car, and crank it to get some oil into it before I actually start it. Okay, give it a go. Okay, that seemed okay. The oil pressure came up a little bit on cranking, so that sounds good. So I put the fuse back in, but what I've obviously got to do is I've got to put the coolant back in the car. The reason I want to do it that way is, you know, I could run it for a little while without the coolant, but I want to run it for a reasonable period, just to, you know, give everything a chance to bed in. Okay, coolant's in it. We're going to give it a go. I'm quite nervous, but we'll see how we go.
So I'll complete the story here. You may have noticed when it started it did sound a bit tappety. That went off after a while. I think that was just a matter of the hydraulic lifters filling with oil and taking up the gap. Also, you'll notice that the fan started to run. I was a bit concerned about that, but I think it might have been an airlock in the block, because after a period of time that stopped happening. So I can only assume that that was just a temporary thing, and it seems okay now. It didn't completely solve my problem, to be frank. I still have a rather strange rattle. I have a feeling it may be because the cams have, if you watch the video where I dismantled it, you'll remember that the cams were scored and the housings that the cams sitting are scored. It's obviously been running on dirty oil at some time in the past, and I do wonder if that's actually the cause of my problem, the rattling. But it's no worse than it was. The only other thing, which was a slight downside, is the oil pressure starting from cold isn't as good as it was, and I think that's because residue had blocked up gaps between the lifters and the head and the hole that they sit in. So I'm not too concerned. It seems okay. The car seems okay, and I have a feeling that it's running slightly better than it was. It doesn't seem quite so grumpy when it's on tick over and when you're just accelerating off of tick over. So I think the cam timing possibly was out, but that's now corrected. So I hope you found that useful, and I look forward to catching you in the next one.